Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are really cutting through the noise to look at a source file that's almost 3 millennia old. But its relevance to our world right now is, well, it's pretty unnerving.
It really is.
We're focusing on just one single explosive verse. It's from the Old Testament prophet Hosea chapter 6, verse 9.
Right. And this isn't just, religious history. It's a blistering indictment.
Of spiritual leaders, right, who basically turned their sacred duty into a criminal enterprise.
Exactly. The core verse we're unpacking is this. Like, brigands lying in wait is the band of priests. I mean, just think about that phrasing.
Brigands, so like highway robbers.
A predatory organized gang. To apply that to the very people meant to guide the community. It suggests the deepest possible betrayal of trust.
So it's a historical warning.
A profound one. It's about the corruption of power, and it really demands self-examination from anyone who holds any kind of influence today.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. To understand why those words are so shocking, why a priest is likened to a thief, and what that tells us about the dangers of spiritual authority when it's, abused.
To really feel the weight of it, we have to look at the setting.
The location.
Yes. The sources are clear. This was happening around the city of Shechem, and it's so easy to just gloss over these ancient names. But in this case, the geography is the crime.
Okay, so what was Shechem? Why is that so important?
Well, Shechem was a city of refuge. This was established under God's law. You can read about it in Numbers 35.
A city of refuge, so a sanctuary.
The ultimate sanctuary. These cities were unique. They were designated havens. Havens of justice, of fairness, of safety.
So if someone, say, accidentally caused a death.
Exactly. They could flee there and be guaranteed a fair hearing. They'd be protected from, a family seeking revenge. It was this incredible symbol of mercy and the rule of law over personal vengeance.
So the people arriving at Shechem were desperate. They were in a state of terror, probably, seeking life itself under a system God had set up.
Precisely. They were seeking protection, and what they found was the very institution meant to oversee that justice, the priests, had turned the sanctuary into a stakeout.
A stakeout, wow. So Hosea isn't just picking a random city. He's pointing to a place where the betrayal would have been felt most acutely.
Yes, the priests were using their oversight of the city's judicial process to take advantage of these incredibly vulnerable people.
Wait, so if they were administering the law there, this wasn't just neglect, this was active exploitation.
It was. They were profiting from people's terror. The broader context in Hosea suggests this was systemic.
How were they doing it?
Well, think about what a brigand does. The priests were likely demanding exorbitant fees for services, maybe for mediation or for required sacrifices or for their legal opinions during the trial process itself.
So they were leveraging their power, their exclusive access to the system.
They were, using it to extract wealth from people who had nowhere else to turn.
That is the ultimate switcheroo. The one space designated for absolute legal safety becomes the most dangerous ambush.
The betrayal is almost unimaginable. The system was designed for fairness, but the administrators were engineering exploitation.
The sources have a modern analogy for this, right?
Yeah, and it holds up perfectly. It's like entering a legal system expecting your rights to be defended, only to be hit with unfair fees, or have the law twisted against you, or even be blackmailed by the very officers of the court.
The sacred space becomes a dangerous place.
That's the core of it.
Okay, let's shift a little. Let's dive into the imagery itself. The brigand lying in ambush. That word choice feels so intentional, so calculated.
It's absolutely calculated. A brigand doesn't attack openly, in a fair fight.
No, they hide?
They hide. They choose a spot where the traveler is weak, exposed, maybe weary from their journey. They exploit that vulnerability. They use surprise, deception, power, all to enrich themselves.
Often at the cost of innocent lives.
Yes, it's a predatory move, not just a random act of violence.
And then you contrast that with what the priests were supposed to be.
The complete opposite. Their divine mandate was to be shepherds. They were meant to teach the law, mediate God's mercy, model holiness.
To protect the flock.
To protect it. Their entire role was to lead people toward God, to provide comfort and safety, not to prey on them.
But in Hosea, that's where this tragic transformation happens.
It's laid bare. Their spiritual authority, their knowledge of the law, their position at the gate of this city, it became a weapon.
And their calling became a cover.
The perfect cover.
Yeah.
So instead of leading people to God, they were leading them into fear and confusion and real harm. They were ambushers on the road to safety.
What really stands out from the sources is this distinction between ritual and reality. This wasn't a failure of knowledge.
Oh, no. They knew the law inside and out. They probably performed all the temple rituals perfectly.
But it was a total failure of character. They were violating the entire spirit of the law while, ticking the boxes on the letter of the law.
They were speaking the language of holiness while practicing violence and exploitation. It's the height of hypocrisy. They understood what God required, justice, mercy, but they chose calculated personal gain instead.
Their spiritual expertise became the very tool of their deception.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's unpack this for today. What does this ancient critique of a corrupt priesthood? What does that mean for us now? Because this is clearly not just an Old Testament problem.
No, not at all. If you connect the dots, you see that the potential for the abuse of authority, spiritual or otherwise, it confronts us in every single age.
So the titles and the roles can change, but the dynamic is the same.
Right. Titles, professional roles, even complicated language, whether it's religious or legal or technical. It can all be twisted for selfish reasons. Power that's disconnected from humility, from genuine service, is always dangerous.
The sin of the priests, then, gets replicated today. How?
It's replicated whenever leaders manipulate a system's complexity to benefit themselves, or to silence dissent, or to protect the reputation of their organization at the expense of real people.
So when authority is used to control, not to serve.
Exactly. Or to exploit, not to protect. It's the same pattern. It's using inside knowledge as a barrier to those seeking help, which is precisely what the priests were doing with their access to the judicial system.
And that creates a crisis of faith, not just in God, but in the institutions themselves.
It inverts the core promise of that institution. Whether it's a church, a company, a nonprofit, a government agency, these bodies are meant to serve and protect.
But when leaders turn that role into a control mechanism,
Then they misrepresent the entire purpose of the organization. And the people who come looking for healing or help, they end up wounded by the very system that was supposed to save them, like the travelers to Shechem.
that kind of structural betrayal is just devastating. And we should stress Hosea's words aren't just a mirror for, CEOs or politicians.
No, that's a crucial point. It's for anyone who claims to follow God.
We have to look past the formal titles and just focus on the action itself. The sources really zero in on that phrase, lying in wait.
Yes, because that suggests intentionality. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't just neglect. It was calculated advantage taking.
And all of us hold some kind of influence, maybe not over a whole city, but in our families, with our colleagues, in our communities.
Everyone does.
So the challenge becomes really immediate. Do we use the influence we have, our knowledge, our experience, our emotional leverage to build people up and create safety? Or do we maybe subtly, maybe even unknowingly, use it to manipulate things for our own convenience?
And when we use, say, tradition or the complexity of a system to justify our own convenience, or we leverage a relationship to avoid being held accountable, we're acting out a small, personal version of that brigand's ambush.
Because the brigand doesn't announce what they're doing.
No, they use cover, they use timing, they attack the vulnerable. So we have to ask ourselves, are there ways we knowingly harm or manipulate people while hiding behind our role or our faith or our position?
It's a tough question, but the prophet's goal here isn't just condemnation. Hosea exposes sin to call people back.
To restoration, always. This deep dive isn't just about pointing fingers at the past. It's about a call to genuine repentance.
And what does that look like?
Well, the sources are clear that true repentance is so much more than just saying sorry to God. It means seeking forgiveness from the people we've actually hurt. It means actively working to restore trust where it was broken.
And surrendering power.
And surrendering that misplaced power back into a posture of humble service. It's a fundamental change in how you operate.
So you invert the betrayal by inverting the action. Instead of being a brigand, you become
a true shepherd. Someone who actively protects the vulnerable, who pursues real, visible justice, and who walks with integrity. Someone who actually models the behavior they preach.
And the good news in all of this, the message under Hosea's warning, is that renewal is actually possible.
It is. Even deeply corrupt systems and damaged communities can be transformed. But it has to start with that honest self-examination. It begins by moving away from calculated exploitation and back toward the role of the shepherd.
So the challenge from Hosea 6.9 is really a choice we all make every day in whatever influence we have. Will we be brigands lying in wait, just looking for an opportunity for our own gain?
Or will we be shepherds, walking alongside people, helping them reach their destination safely, making sure the path is clear?
It's a powerful distinction. It shifts the focus from just, following the rules of an institution
to truly embodying its protective, just heart.
So here's the final thought to carry with you from this. The passage is ultimately challenging us to decide what kind of space we create for others.
Hmm.
If someone seeking guidance or help or refuge in a moment of crisis comes to you, in your family, at your workplace, in your community, will they truly find the justice, mercy, and stability they so desperately need?
Or will they just encounter another calculated ambush? That's the essential question we have to leave with.